Welcome to Coffee with Cade. I am so excited to be talking to this fabulous young lady that we have as our special featured guest today. And as a reminder to everyone, this is a conversation, not a presentation. So we're just going to have some girl time and connect and talk about overcoming cancer, overcoming infertility, and becoming the best you, or as Kara would like to say, Kara, I can't say it better than you. Can you tell us what we are going to become?
Yes, you're going to become a gem. You're going to become the best you can be. You're going to be enlightened, empowered, and glorious.
Hey, I want to be glorious. That sounds wonderful. So for those of you who are joining us, we have Mrs. Kara Adams, who is an exceptional woman for so many different reasons. She's an author. She's a mommy to Truly, a wife to Troy. She is an executive, and she is an empowering woman. She's lived through a lot. And so she's got a really powerful story, and she happens to be one of the Cade families. She and her hubby, Troy, are 2012 Cade Family Building Grant recipients. And so we're just going to sit and talk a little bit today about her experiences and becoming the gem that she's hoping to help all of the rest of us become. So, Kara, thank you for being here. I know in California it's like breakfast time, so I hope that you had your Wheaties or Cheerios or whatever you were going to eat, right?
Yes, and I have my coffee, so I'm ready to go.
Yay! You have your coffee with Cade, and I have my mug, and we'll talk a little bit about what's in each of our mugs at the end of the program. So, for those of you who are tuning in from online, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram, please feel free to send in your questions. You can just type your questions right below the video, and we will ask them online. And if you ask them after we have finished, we will do our best to go back and respond to every single question. So let's go ahead and get started. So, Mrs. Kara Adams, tell me a little bit about your story.
So our story, my husband and I, we got married in 2007. And, like most young women, the first thing on my mind, honestly, was getting pregnant. He didn't know it at the time, but, the first year of our marriage, I was thinking, if we get pregnant, great. I'm not trying to get pregnant. And so after about a year of us being together, my husband said, baby, I think I'm ready to have a kid. I think I'm ready to have a child. And so at the time I was about 34 years old. And so I said, okay, we can try and we'll make it fun. And, once you start telling your family that you're trying to have a child, good Lord.
I remember.
We got tiki dolls.
The question.
Yeah. Yes, we got tiki dolls. People were giving us books on how to have girls, how to have boys. Like, it's just everyone gets in your business when they know that, you're trying to make a baby. So after about a year of that and of not getting pregnant, and, we sat down and I was like, babe, maybe we should, I'm a little older. Maybe we should see a doctor, make sure everything's working okay. And Troy, he was like, babe, we're just don't think about it. If you don't think about it, we'll get pregnant. That's what always happens. When you adopt, you get pregnant. When you don't think about it, you get pregnant. Mm-hmm. So that lasted about 3 weeks. And then I was like, okay, no, we need to go see a doctor.
You think about this, right? Time to think about it.
Yeah. Yes. And so, we went to the doctor, and you don't think about the role it plays and how it is for men, because our doctor, we went through Loma Linda and they were fantastic, but they were like, it's easier to test the man. So let's test your husband first, and then we'll schedule you after that. And so I didn't think about kind of how hard it is and how hard it would be for him to emotionally go through that, even though, his is a little bit more pleasurable, I'll say, but mentally it's hard. And so once he went in and had his test done, it came back that, we had some male factor infertility issues. But I would say probably the hardest part of that was getting the specimen. And, Troy and I can laugh about it today, but at the time he was so mad because he says I tricked him. Like we were, in the middle of what adults do. And then I had the cup underneath the pillow. Oh, and so
just like whip it up. That, oh my goodness.
Right at the right time, I whip it out and he just about has heart failure. And so, we give this specimen to the doctor, but to this day, he's like, my swimmers, they didn't like that and they had stage fright.
That's
and so,
it's
so to get past that part. But, what we did end up finding out is that we had both male and female factor infertility.
Okay.
And our doctor told us that we had 1%, less than 1% chance of getting pregnant on our own.
Okay.
And he said he was a faith-based man, believed in miracles. But if we wanted to give a little help, then IVF was our best bet.
Okay. All right. So you moved on to IVF.
Say that again?
So you moved on to IVF.
Yes. So we moved on to IVF and Troy was a trooper. He gave me every one of my shots. We tried to really make it kind of a team event, and so that we both felt like we were participating in it. And I think that drew us closer, even though it was such a stressful time. But we did the shots, we underwent IVF, and we were blessed to have a baby and get pregnant the very first time. I hyperstimulated, and so I was on bed rest the first 3 weeks of my pregnancy. But it was, I was crying and happy all at the same time.
Okay. Okay, so you had this beautiful, fast forward about 9 months, you had this beautiful baby boy. Truly, your life is perfect?
My life was the opposite of perfect.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it was horrible, but I wasn't expecting everything that came. One of the things I found out when you go through infertility treatments is it's harder for you to produce milk. And I couldn't produce milk. I was producing like little teeny drops. I would pump 30 minutes every hour just to help stimulate the glands, and I couldn't get any milk. And so here I had to work so hard to get this baby and to have my husband kind of come along with the journey, and because he wasn't super supportive in the beginning. And then I can't feed my child.
Right.
I
said after you tricked him, he took it.
I tricked him. Yeah. He got over it eventually. But then I have, my son, and he was born at 35 weeks. And so it was just really difficult. He was up every hour. It was hard to feed him. He was hungry. I was tired and I couldn't produce milk. And it really weighed on me emotionally, on our marriage. It was just a really, really tough time. I wasn't showing any attention to my husband. I was giving 110% to our son, and I wasn't thinking about myself at all. And you think like, oh my God, I finally got my son. I finally got that thing that I've been trying and working so hard for and spending our savings on. And then it's just, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for what came next. He was beautiful and I was blessed, but I was also emotionally distraught.
So let's fast forward. So it's the challenge of expectation. All I have to do is get through this, and then I'll be in the land of milk and honey, and everything will be beautiful and easy. And, real life kind of intervened, and it was the land of milk and honey, but you still had to work, and there were still some challenges. So let's fast forward a little bit further, because you are not just an overcomer of infertility. You do have this beautiful son, but you're also a cancer survivor.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. I'm also a what?
A cancer survivor.
Oh, yes, yes. So after our son was about 3 years old, we decided that we were going to try to have another one. And I went through 3 more rounds of IVF. And it was really challenging. But what I found out after we had gone through all 3, like I just pumping my body full of hormones, my husband said, okay, you know, enough is enough. We can't do this anymore. We have to stop. And so I'm like, okay. And slowly I got to where he was. But we went on a little staycation. We went maybe 2 or 3 hours. I don't remember exactly where, but we went, and my husband's like, oh, okay, I'm going to get this movie for us so that, you know, we can relax. We'll put Truly in daycare. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And then he pulls out a bootleg.
Which bootleg was it? Which one was it?
So it was called, oh God, do you remember, baby? I Missed You Already. It was called I Miss You Already. Okay. And he said, babe, it's a comedy. It's like a romantic comedy. It's with Drew Barrymore. You're going to love it. Well, it wasn't. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay, yes, I am. The best friend dies of breast cancer and leaves 2 young children and her husband. So like I'm crying all the way through the movie. And towards the middle, Troy's like, babe, I'll turn it off. I'll turn it off. It's supposed to be happy. And I'm like, no, I'm invested. Keep it on. Right, well, long story short, that movie, I was inspired and felt like, okay, I need to get my mammogram. I haven't had a mammogram in 8 years. And I know breast cancer runs in my family. So that Monday, I went and made an appointment for a mammogram. And I would say probably 2 to 3 weeks after that, I was diagnosed with stage 1 type 2 triple positive breast cancer. And our life really changed from that second on forever.
Stage 1 type 2 estrogen positive breast cancer.
Yes, I was triple positive. So I was estrogen positive, progesterone positive, and also HERS2 positive. So, wow. You know, it sounded super scary. Before I knew exactly what it was, you know, I thought, oh my goodness, I've got the absolutely worst breast cancer, the most aggressive. You know, it was devastating. But later to kind of find out, when you know what feeds your cancer, you can cure your cancer. Amen. It's the triple negative that's a little bit harder to treat. And so really, you know, I'm going to say that God was looking out for me and really, you know, as cancer goes, I had a treatable cancer.
So, already overcome infertility. Now, based on a bootleg movie, and something's going on in the background with the sound here.
Can you hear?
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's tearing paper.
Oh no.
Okay. I got you. I got you again. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, this is just amazing. And I do feel like, you know, everything happens for a reason. I mean, there was a reason why your husband found whoever that bootlegger was and got that little movie for you to watch. And there was a reason why you connected with it. And I'm really grateful that you did, because had you not, you know, Truly was 3 years old, and it could have been a very different situation. He may not have been able to, you know, have his mommy with him. So thank you, Troy. You know, looking out, good looking out.
Yes, okay. And the bootleg barbershop, the little black barbershop with the bootleg movies, you know, we all know.
Okay, so let's move forward. So you are diagnosed with cancer, and you know, I read your book, and hopefully, Kara, would you please put a copy of your book up? I was so inspired by her Hidden Treasure book. It was an excellent read, but there was an excerpt in there where you talked about one day where you almost died in your husband's arms, and you had to relinquish what you felt was control in order to get your life back. Can you talk a little bit about that day?
Yes. So when you're going through chemotherapy, they tell you like your day 3 is going to be the hardest, or your day 4 is going to be the hardest. For me, it was always day 5. So, with my day 5, it's when all of my side effects hit. It's when I would be the sickest. And it's when, I would be trying to control, how sick I would let my family see me. And day 5 was always that kind of hardest day where I needed the most help. So about my 3rd treatment in, every single time I was making trips to the emergency room. Well, this time was a little different because, I was so sick and so ill. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was having so much pain that I actually blacked out while I was on the commode trying to go to the bathroom. And before that, I remember saying, I was praying, God, please help me. God, please help me. Just let me breathe through it. I don't want to wake my family up. Please help me. And like, I'm sweating and I'm sick. And, I just hear this, I can't help yourself. I can't help yourself. And so I say, Troy, and I'm not yelling, but, I don't want to wake my son up who's, we live in 488 square feet. So we live in a tiny house, but, I'm like, Troy, and he doesn't hear me. And so then I say, Troy, and he doesn't hear me. And then I just scream. And all of a sudden he jumps up, comes into the room. And I think the second I scream is when I black out, and I'm in so much pain, I just can't control it anymore. And I literally kind of slump into his arms. Well, what happens when when you die is like you lose all control of your faculties. And for me, it was like a metaphor to my life. I was trying to control everything so tightly, how sick I was allowing my family to see. I was trying to still work, and, my title still felt like something that I could control, and, who I was and what I was giving to my family. And in that instance, I realized me holding so tight was literally killing me. Mm-hmm. And my husband, I think at that moment, realized he had to step in and at all costs stop me from killing myself. And so he was the one. He called his sister. They had to put me in the bathtub. Like literally, I pooped, I urinated, all over myself. I lost all control. And, he had to be there to see that. And I think it really woke us both up. But again, it's a metaphor to life. The harder you hold on to control, the less control you actually have.
Wow. And you have to let it all go in order to get to the good stuff.
Yes.
Let it go. Wow.
Yes.
So tell me, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kira.
I was going to say, I think that was I know that was the beginning of our transformation, the transformation of our marriage, the transformation for how I saw my husband as really this warrior, this protector, who he was supposed to be. I don't know what I was trying to do. I was in our way of progressing to where really God wanted us to be.
Get out of the way. Wow.
That's what you got to do. We're raised as, as women, that we've got to control and be able to give and be able to support. But we have roles, and that's what I needed to step back so I could see how beautifully my husband could handle it all.
Oh, that makes me so happy. That makes me feel oh man. Okay. Well, you are married to an incredible man, but we've got partners for a reason. So
yeah.
So tell me how that has changed your life, and I know that it inspired you. But tell me how you went from completely vulnerable, completely surrendering to this magnificent woman that I see here right now.
So part of the surrender, part of the transformation is about knowing who those most important figures are in your life, and being able to have faith. And that's what I didn't have. I didn't have faith in God that he could bring me through. I didn't have faith in my husband that he could support and bear the load of having to do everything at home. I didn't trust myself in that I would still be loved afterwards. So for me, really, once I got well, I started to notice myself sliding back and turning into the old Kara. Okay. And so I would tell Troy, like, I'm unhappy. I'm not fulfilled. God didn't save me just to go back to being, a VP at a credit union. There has to be more to my life. And so he's like, babe, I don't know. I think this is something you have to work through yourself. And so really, I found my purpose in cancer. I found my purpose in letting go. And that I can now see other women doing the same thing I was doing. And at the time, you started seeing and you started hearing a lot about, people committing suicide and people, killing themselves and their children. And I think that, it's all stems from us not knowing our worth, us not being able to love ourselves enough to let go and let God help us through whatever it is we're going through, because those heartaches, those heartburns, those eruptions in our life, they're really meant to give us a testimony and to give us a model for those who come after us. Wow. I went through all of that so that I could help bring women to the light, to show them that we are enlightened, we are magnificent. If you love yourself, you can love everyone else.
So what I'm hearing is cancer saved your life. This thing that was meant to take you out actually saved you and gave you, and working through it and not just giving up on yourself, but being forced to work through that gave your life purpose and gave a bigger purpose than just me. What are my dreams? What are my goals? What are my aspirations?
Yes. I would say cancer woke me up. Woo! I felt like I was sleepwalking through life. Like I knew I had a purpose. I knew I had a reason for being here. I just didn't have the time to discover what it was. I didn't have the patience because I was putting all these other things. I was putting work events. I was putting, getting truly ready for bed. I was putting that in front of what God put me on this earth for. And I think that's part of it. Those are things that we do, but we all have this awesome purpose that is unique to us, that nobody else. I have a story nobody else can tell. You have a story nobody else can tell. No matter what you've been through, you have gone through it for a purpose and use it as gas to push you to the next level.
That's outstanding, Kara. That is beautiful. So again, for those who have questions, please send them in. We are almost at the end of our broadcast, but this has been really so, to me, it's a lesson for everyone, because even if you're not dealing with a major life-threatening disease, you may not be living at a level where you're walking in your purpose, where you feel like you're doing what you were put here to do. And so your story of overcoming infertility and of cancer, it just kind of makes me think, when I was younger, my mom would say, God sometimes speaks to you in a whisper. And if you don't hear the whisper, then it becomes a conversation. And if you don't hear the conversation, sometimes it becomes a roar. But the lesson doesn't go away because we didn't get it. So, I'm glad that you got the lesson and that you are now walking in your purpose.
Thank you.
Troy and Truly are happier because they have their mom who is happy and who is content, right?
Troy is right here and he's going to put his little face in the screen. Come here. Always my support.
Yay!
What's up, Camille?
Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Good. Just enjoying the conversation that you guys are having.
Oh, great. Yay! So before book up one more time.
You went away.
I'm here. Can you see me?
Oh, there you go.
Hi. Do me a favor, put your book up one more time. For everyone who may be struggling with cancer or just struggling with feelings of self-worth, I'm not good enough, or you may be feeling like you're sleepwalking through life. And she just gave a little snippet of her testimony. She does a deep dive in this book, and I really felt like it was helpful to me in my life, and I think that you will find it helpful to you as well. So please check out her book, Hidden Treasure, 5 Steps to Transformational Self-Love. And you can also find out more about Kara and when she may be speaking globally at karaadams.com. Before I sign off, Kara, let's hold up your mug. This is Coffee with Cade. So tell me what's in your mug. And in your place, it's 9:30 a.m. So it's still early morning. What's in your mug, Kara?
Yeah. So mine is, I have coffee with almond milk and stevia.
Oh, that's very fancy. And I've got good old-fashioned water. Well, you can't even see mine, but I've got water because it's lunchtime, and I've been eating carrots all morning, and I was trying to hold off on eating real food until after my conversation with Kara. So also, for those of you who are within 30 minutes or an hour of Maryland, we are having our upcoming we've got 2 actually major events coming up. We've got our Pathways in Progress Infertility Conference that is going to have sessions for nonprofit leaders. So if you are working in the support space or running a nonprofit, or you are interested in learning more about PCOS, we will have great speakers and great information. And that is going to be on November the 3rd at Georgetown University at their hotel and conference center. And we also have our upcoming 13th Cade Foundation Family Building Gala at the Embassy of France, also on November the 13th in Washington, D.C. So if you're interested in either of those events, please visit us online at cadefoundation.org to learn more or to purchase tickets. So, Kara, thank you so much for sharing your time, your treasure, which is your experience and your perspective with us. And I can't wait to hear about all of the great things that happen as you are encouraging everyone to find their gems. I know that great things are already happening with you all, and I love it, and I can't wait to see how things continue to evolve and progress, and see how God uses you to help other people. So on that note, have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone, and we will see you soon. Be well.
Thank you. Bye.